Hey Dinker, good morning.
Morning, we are back. I think
Yes, we are back.
we left at
And
episode around 33.
episode 33, I think that was a good number. Remember, 33 has a very important meaning. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Uh, I follow Formula One and I'm a big fan of Max Verstappen, whose number is 33. So, yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
In fact, it is so funny that every time he goes back to his home country for racing,
Which
the
is,
speed, which is Netherlands. So
okay.
they actually changed the speed signs from 30 kilometer per hour speed limit to 33. Actually,
Oh, just to honor him.
yes.
Wow.
All right,
Which,
but coming back,
yeah,
yeah.
which certain tells me that they have the ability to dynamically update speed limit.
Oh, I think they just go and repent, put a
Repeat
sticker over
the
that.
sticker.
It's much low tech, Dinkar, than what you think. uh, but overall, I think this is very special, right? Between that episode 33 and
Yeah,
today,
yeah,
one thing has changed is that we have both changed the jerseys of our organization.
yeah. And oddly enough, we ended up again in the same organization.
Yes,
I
I
think
don't
that
know.
was a coincidence. That was not an intention.
It's a little bit planned, but yeah, coincidence.
That's
we
not
can we
official.
can say we can say coincidence as
Yeah,
a hindsight, but it is rarely a coincidence when a bunch of people show up together in this new company, basically.
yeah. And I think it's an indication of what you and I have been thinking and talking about that we ended up in the same domain. We made this switch. Let's talk today a bit about that.
Absolutely, I think that's a good topic to discuss. Um, and what do you think, Dinkar? Because you joined before me, so what was really exciting about getting into this data domain for you?
See, for me, I call myself a digital native, right? So digital was always my home turf. This is where I was, right? My home ground. Building applications for others, my own startup, building these systems of applications. It was fun, right? And I never paid attention to the word data. For me, it was like database data sitting in some, or looking at incoming information from various click streams and everything, and using data to make some decisions. User interview was the thing to understand where to go, and data was really helping with those decision making, but never the main act, so as to say.
Yeah, basically the sidekick, not the superhero of your story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly
Uh,
right. And
and Dinkar, but in that sense, the volume of data you used to interact in your digital world also used to be significantly different, right?
and that time I didn't realize that. For that, that was the wow, so much of data,
Hmm.
right? It's now in hindsight I realize that the volume of data really was not that significant, right?
Yeah.
And that's why if you think about it the way we were thinking about metrics, right? That also came from these digital inputs,
Got it.
and if you think about how we worked on ebo metrics, right? And that was the whole idea, right? If an engineering team is putting effort to become an excellent team, does that lead to a business outcome, right? There also data was a sidekick to
Yeah.
enable an engineering team to become excellent, right? To figure out that is there a correlation with business outcome. It was just connecting the engineer performance with business results. And that's when started that data isn't just a report. There are some interesting things that happen with data that we can do in the background, right? Shape decisions. It's not about just you know, it's not just digital is about tracking. Yeah. So one thing that I realized is that while in digital world user experience, user interaction is so important, you're actually deriving value out of human interactions, right?
Right.
But slowly I've started realizing is that in the data world it's about extracting value out of data or information itself. I think that subtle shift when happened, I realized that the world has changed, and I also need to change.
Yeah, that's a very neat way to put it, right? It is interaction versus interface, basically, of how
Yeah.
you work with the data. Um, and yes, in terms of that engineering excellence to business outcomes, that Evo, what you mentioned, it reminds me of why we got into that in the first place itself.
Mm.
Is we realized that software delivery in the digital world, and we have worked with geographically different customers, different
Yeah.
sizes, different technologies in different roles. And what we realize is that rarely these are technology problems. These end up becoming people problems eventually, in terms of how they organize their work, responsibilities, silos, and all that stuff. And I can say that for me, there are so many similarities and so many differences, but my journey as well, why I got attracted, is slightly different, but very similar. In When I started my career about 20 plus years ago, it used to be like I used to hear this phrase a lot. We have a lot of data, but we don't have information. Around 2006 7, I also got into a startup which was trying to read a lot of log data and then build something what we know today as Datadog or New Relic. It was a log analysis and insight generation platform. But this was very common phrase at that time, is that we have a lot of data but we don't have information. Then sometime I think in 2010s it changed to we have a lot of information but we don't have a lot of insights. And nowadays, or for a few years now, we have been observing that people are talking about we have a lot of insights. I mean, generating automated insights, whether it is pricing, whether it is recommendation, whether it is suggestions. It is extremely common and it doesn't even require a lot of sophistication. Uh, these are commodities technologies right now. But then they are saying that, hey, we need decisions. And how do you convert from data to decisions is something which is a big puzzle and focus for a lot of people. Um, and that was one of the big realizations for me, that software industry, while it actually tries to orchestrate decisions, it is still upon the data world to
Mm.
provide that infrastructure which is in some way lacking and some way advancing at the same time.
Yeah, and what I hear leaders now say that, hey, I need action. So if you think the ladder has gone from data to information, insights, decision, and then action. And one of the things that I'm finding very exciting here at the new employer's home is this loop that ends with an action. So that for me, that's very exciting. What are you seeing there, right, with this ladder going from data, information, insight, decisions to actions?
Yes, in many ways, I said this is a solved problem. Look at example of Uber.
Yeah.
Uh, they are able to near real time analyze millions of rides data and utilize that for dynamic pricing.
Hmm.
I have worked with a company which used to be in hotel pricing, and they used to do analytics on a lot of rooms every time, basically. And the interval they used to do is 24 hours. Is that tomorrow's rates will be published today evening, something like that. But it was pretty good. And if you look at Google, it can like take streams of thousands of rides or millions of rides in a particular region and then give traffic information real time. So these are problems which are solved by a lot of people of getting a lot of data from different streams in large volumes and then process them near real time and then generate decisions. So these are not insight generation systems, they are decisioning systems.
Yeah.
But if you think about the industry, uh, the gap between the best player, like the industry standard state of the art players, and then average or below average people, is so huge. I do not think in software industry the gap is that much. That if, let's say, Google is building software versus somebody else is building software, I don't see the gap in their quality or processes or time to market is that high. But here the differentiation is too much in terms of the speed to market, the quality of decisions, and everything.
Yeah.
So
I
uh, it lacks a lot.
I think Sachin, that's also because the processes are quite matured. People have experimented a lot with the processes, and good things have emerged. In software, we have figured out a lot of these things: how to push code fast, how to create code, how to push code, how to bring in the learning, how to make the updates, the whole agile CI/CD, DevOps. But one of the realization for me was that in data, those practices don't exist yet the way they should be, at the scale they should be.
Yes, and my realization is it is not copy paste of the
Yeah.
software practices, because in software the way you understand quality is very different than how you understand the quality in data world, or how you can build code which is in isolation of the data itself. Here, you if you create, let's say, 30,000 rows or 10,000 rows or 5,000 rows, and test your code or pipeline with that, and you run it against, let's say, billion rows on a daily basis, there is a pretty good chance that you will find some data bits which are not fitting the thing. And how do you handle that? So the complexity is the nature of the problem is very different. Another thing is the way processes existed in software delivery were optimized for delivering software fast.
Yes.
In data world, it is not about how many pipelines you create on a daily basis. It is um, generating richer and more accurate insights. So sort of they are insight artists rather than the insight factory.
Yeah.
um, they are constantly revisiting their process so that they can create something really cool. And in software, what we are talking about is, I solved this problem, I moved on, and I built something more, so let me get this into production. In data world, probably you will work for like 3 years and you will generate, let's say, 200 pipelines on set of order database. And but each these 200 pipelines would have gone through, let's say, 50 iterations each, whereas in software it doesn't work. So these are not like lift and shift of processes from one world to the other, but there is a lot of you can extract as the good bit practices. Example is, how do you communicate the ROI? How do you actually make sure that the silos are broken and autonomous teams exist? The data teams are seen as not contributing to the business. They are considered as, hey, take this specification, make something happen. Um, and once the decisions are there, the decisions are actually uh, executed by somebody else. The operational teams are different than the decision making teams.
Mm.
Data exists as a silo rather than a collaborator with the business. So and if you go and confront this to any data leader, they will say, you know what, no, in our company we are actually collaborators, but it's just that the action taking boundary is not there.
Yeah.
For example, how DevOps brought together developer and the ops people. Earlier, I used to push code and then somebody used to deploy that into
Yeah.
servers. It is similar. Is they are delivering insight, but somebody else has to act, or they own the system which actually makes that action happen. How you can say, I mean, like, if you can call data ops, where data and operations are actually sitting together, right? They
Yes.
are executing the action as well. Some digital native, data native companies have solved this problem to a great extent, but many enterprises are still struggling in this reorganization itself. So I see that there is a long way to go for a lot of companies.
And it's one of the other things that it's this silo, right? And that's why when we go and talk about, hey, don't just think of dashboard, but also think of how to enable that person who's looking on the dashboard to make an in-moment decision, right?
Yeah.
That's where this actions become very important. It's not just the pipeline sprawl. I mean, it's for me that was an eye opener, right? As I talk to more and more people are trying to understand, like a good product thinker, right? Tell me about your problem first. um, Pipeline sprawl is a major problem, maintaining that and all that, and not just that, then the tool sprawl. I,
Yeah,
to be honest, this was quite a surprise for me about proliferation, and how all these tools have come together, how complex the enterprise architecture has started looking. And which is, and to be honest, while it is kind of okay, there's a new data tool for everything, but at some point, it does lead to this sprawl, which is becoming very difficult for a CDO or even the IT partner of the CDO to now imagine, to manage. It's getting crazy. Yeah.
yeah. It's like somebody had just built a box of Lego on the floor, right? First time when you see that there are 10 tools for every single problem in data world, whether it is lineage, there are tools. If there is a cataloging, there are tools. If you want governance, there are tools. If you want access control, there are tools. And you just name it, everybody is just trying to have their own take on this to make an incremental improvement. While that is true, most of the organizations are struggling to build their custom data platform which solves everything. And what it creates a trouble is that when you are trying to have one platform to rule them all, we know that it has not worked good for anyone. Take example of whether it is cloud provider versus something else. people are People say that, hey, I don't get it here, I do get into AWS. And these are even more mature systems.
Yeah.
But if you think about this tooling, uh, what I realized is mostly these are also tools existed because of the people, how they have adopted. And if you remember, you and I were talking about this once, and you said the reason why these tools came up is that somebody said my job is just basically compliance and governance, so I need a tool which solves this particular problem for me. I don't want to get into, let's say, this large platform which solves everything and developers are reading there. I need one thing where I just have this compliance. Somebody said that, hey, that's fine by me, but my job is basically maintain cost and FinOps. So give me that view and I'll do it. And there will be data analysts who will say, you know what, I don't care about how you are transforming data. My job is to basically catalog and maintain the information semantic layer. Let me just worry about that. And these kind of creates not only tool sprawl but also fragmented practices and how people
Exactly.
work.
And my answer to that always has been, and I challenge that. I understand you're looking for your experience. I understand that you're coming to this, to a place, and saying that, where do I do my daily job, right? Don't ask for a tool, ask for an experience. And there's a slight
Correct.
difference there, right? Because if you ask for a tool, you'll get a tool. If you'll ask for an experience, maybe it exists in the existing tool, maybe it exists in how things are glued. So there are other things that can happen, right? Behind every tool sprawl, if you scratch a little, are people. And that's Godhart's law. Sachin, if I am saying it correctly, right? The architecture kind of starts responding to the organizational structure
That is
post
Conway's law.
that, right?
That is Conway's law.
Conway's law, yes.
Yeah.
There's so many laws, and I'm not a lawyer, so my brother is. I'm not. So and you start seeing that this tool was brought here not because it solved this problem or it helped in this value chain, but it is for this team, for this team. And I think that the thought process is to kind of soften a bit. It's okay to ask for your experience, but just force fitting a tool into the already complex ecosystem can become quite complicated there. And uh, and uh, such an as this is where the product thinking really comes in. And one of the things that I've been thinking about, right? One of the triggers for me realization that how important data has become was the advent of Gen AI on my face. Right, in my last days at with digital world, I could see it coming. You had to be blind not to see how data is changing. And The only thing that went through my mind at that time was, well, chat gpt is for end user, it's for the consumer. How will an enterprise respond to this? And then I started realizing that there's a big opportunity for enterprises to really become AI ready, right? And for them to invest. And I was sure in my and in my foresight, I will say that enterprises really are asking this question. So, Sachin, what is your take, right, in all this pipeline sprawl, tool sprawl, data being so complex, and people like you and me coming from digital world, stepping in, bringing those practices. Data world already is rich with so many, tools and techniques. Uh, how do you see all of this, combining?
Yes, but it isn't magic. But you are right, Dinker. What it has created is added fuel to the fire.
Hmm,
It has increased the sense of urgency for a lot of enterprises significantly. But they are going to reach there eventually.
hmm,
Today, I do not think it is important that how you are creating AI-powered use cases using your data. But what they need is ability. If the use cases emerge, how do I actually make that data bring closer so that I can take AI's advancements very quickly into the fold? I'll give you a very simple example. Today, most organizations have very sophisticated in ML infrastructure available,
hmm,
but they can't take decision. Example is, one simple use case could be is that you have a lot of structured and unstructured data about your employees, your things, but you can't even predict when when my people are going to be mostly unavailable
hmm,
during, because for let's say a services company, what is the most important factor is their inventory of people hours so
hmm,
that they can bill. But today that projection itself is weak because they don't know the patterns of their own people.
hmm,
And like, how do you even make it available? Leave management systems are slightly different, performance management systems are you don't even know when which people are being available at and there are that itself is a big science in its own way. But what I'm saying is, a lot of organizations don't even have very sophisticated systems to track their own resources,
hmm,
and you just extend that problem to hundreds of domains which each company is working with.
hmm,
And in my last fun project, what I was doing is, we had this intranet, we had chat, we had our a project allocation system, we had leave management system, we had a group where you used to mail, hey, I was part of this project and this project just went live. All of this combined together, you could tell how the shape of the talent of my organization is changing, whether they are actually changing from X to Y. Earlier, I had these skills very in high demand, but now people are trying to go here. If I don't give them this work, essentially they are going to be unhappy in my organization. Now, I, I know I am actually making 10 jumps here, but
yeah,
what I want to show is that earlier, to even reach there, it was impossible. But with generative AI, you can analyze these emails, you can analyze chat messages,
exactly.
you can analyze a ton of unstructured data in a much more meaningful way to extract structured data out of it. For many use cases, the cost was the prohibiting factor to execute this. So I'm not saying where people say AI ready data. AI ready data is meaning different for different things. But what I am actually coming from is, because of generative AI, there are so many use cases which are coming into this financial band, which becomes very palatable to
Hmm,
enterprises if they put the right use cases behind it. So our ability to bring data fast, allow people to experiment faster, and in a very cost conscious way, in a predictable way, that is going to be the differentiating factor for how organizations are going from laggards to basically early adopters of a lot of technology. So I do believe there is huge play for data platforms in the future.
I totally agree, right? AI doesn't run on magic, right?
Yes.
Just because you have systems doesn't mean the AI will work, right? It need access to clean, accessible, well-structured data, right? Now, if you, as a business, as an IT system, if you already have structured data, if you don't have proper semantics to it, what is this data about? If you don't have right metadata on it, right? If you don't have nice structures around it, if your unstructured data is lying around and you're not, ingesting it and putting structure on top of it, because unstructured data comes with a lot of metadata that you can extract, right? If you're not bringing these two together, right, and then consuming them in a meaningful way where you can take decisions on top of it. I see there is a lot of work happening on the consumption side with AI,
Yeah.
because humans are seeing it, but I think what is either missing or unseen is the work which is happening in the background, where the data is coming together to make this, consumption in form of AI methods possible. And I think this is where, there's a lot of work happening, and this is a challenge, which I'm really excited about. And what this also does, Sachin, having this clean, accessible, structured, meaningful data, is that it really helps with the experimentations, right?
Right. Absolutely. Pixels to patterns.
Yeah. Yeah, and the more low friction this experimentation is, right, if you can figure out the, put a boundary on the cost, you're able to experiment faster. The
Yeah.
quicker you'll make, the value realized to the business, and you can go faster, right? Left to right thinking versus right to left thinking, where left to right is start from the data and then think what business value can be generated, or right to left thinking saying this is the value that I want to generate, now tell me what do you need to have, how much time, cost, and what kind of experiments you need to do to give me the data. And all of this is based upon the readiness of the enterprise's data, be it structured, unstructured, whatever, in whatever system, right? Everything just needs to come together. And low friction platforms really perform very well. But Sachin, that was, my side of story of this transfer. I didn't leave the world of digital because I felt like there's, it's not exciting anymore. But I felt that the world of data is, where there is a lot of things that need to be figured out by enterprises. And the product thinking brain of mine was, that's where the next challenge is. This is the next frontier. This is where product thinking is needed. This is really bigger in terms of the problems that it has. And that's my story of the shift from digital to data.
Yeah, and my story is about urgency. More like I do believe there is a great amount of work needs to happen in this space, and we can bring our 2 cents or 0.002 cents to this floor.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited. While we were in digital, it was not very far away from data. But when we come to data, we just are realizing the extent of it. But fun times. I'm super excited.
Yeah,
Um,
and I talked to a lot of people who are thinking about this shift,
yeah,
and definitely will forward this to them. Yeah,
absolutely.
this is our story, and thanks everyone for listening. I know we still have some subscribers from past
Yeah,
who, who I hope will carry on with our journey of exploring this new way of looking at the new problem statements that are hitting the same set of enterprises, same set of customers. And it's good to be back with this experiment.
absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you, Dinker.
Take care, Sachin. Bye.